However, my testicle issue.
Stay hot, side back, shadow boxing, swinging at the air, undefeated in delusion. Reality don't care, Jupiter creeping, got the whole cruise shook. Predator vibes, got a band from the book, Josh Block got the hell. Bottle in his clutch, captain of a ship that's been sinking too much. Over Navy rattling, can't step to the throne. Worry, drop the mic, let them reap what they've sown.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. Thanks for stopping by the channel again. Today, we're going to be throwing it back and doing another episode of Lolcow Rewind, this time on Andy Ditch. There hasn't been too much going on over the last couple of days as far as new news with any of the cows that I have come across yet, so I wanted to take some time to go back to something a little bit older, and luckily, Busin Faker, the Andy Ditch Archive channel, just put out this video of Andy. It's kind of a long one, it's kind of a gross one, it's definitely a funny one. And I haven't been covering a lot of the newer Andy content, not only because it's pretty uneventful, but also because he's not actually recording himself very much these days. It tends to be much more he's screen recording his tablet, and you end up spending like 20, 30, 40 minutes staring at his like AAC board that he doesn't even need. And it's kind of frustrating too because the audio is really, really bad. So a lot of times the audio of him is bad to begin with, but then you're getting like secondhand audio of him on the phone with somebody. And if you can make out what he's saying, which you usually can't, you definitely can't make out what the person on the other end of the phone is saying. So it's just not content that's usually fun to consume because it's so hard to even sift through to try to get any information out of it. But this is from about 2 years ago, from 2023, and this is a time when Andy was most definitely on camera and going into great detail about some pretty gross stuff. So this probably goes without saying for an Andy video, but I wouldn't watch this one if you guys were eating anything. But that being said, let's see what he's got to tell us.
Hi YouTube. So I want to share something with you guys because let me pause this real quick. So I hope to be able to go take a little bike ride with my brother, even though my back is killing me. But I won't go far because my back is hurting. I just want to be able to get out for a little bit, and that's something I'm going to try to see if Joe wants to do. I'll go at my pace so I can be safe with it because I got to be careful not falling. I also have balance issues, so I am going, and I have not rode a bike in a very long time, so it is something I want to do to get used to, be able to do it, because I kind of like riding my bike, and I want to try to do something to keep busy this year. So this video is about what I want to share with you.
So he manages to talk about something normal and not disgusting for like roughly a minute before we get into this.
So this is the Tena Pro Skin Cleansing Cream, okay? The reason why I'm showing you this is because I found something that actually has helped my skin, and I only had this for one day. I've been using this with to clean my area down there and wipe off after, okay?
See, screw Tofia's makeup videos. This is the product review videos that we need. We need Andy Ditch doing like personal care videos. Imagine he's getting a sponsorship with like a vino. Like this is what a way to kick this off.
And my skin is not as itchy. It's not as sore feeling, and I think this is starting to actually help. This does not say it has a barrier cream with it. And the reason why I'm showing you this is because when I called HDIS last week about my trying to get a diaper for daytime to help me with a routine, so I use less of the more expensive nighttime diapers for better skin issues. is because they said that it's not so much the diaper that's causing me the issue. It's the creams that I may be using. And they talked about how not all creams are created equal to help with this issue. They talked about how they asked me if I was a diabetic, and I said I am, and they said that would cause extra yeast growth in my groin area.
Oh my God. Can you imagine being a grown professional and having to sit in a room across from Andy, who at this time would have been like 38 years old, and explain these things to him while he sits there, like referring to himself in the third person and pretending to have twitches? Like, that's just gotta be. It has to be the worst part of your day. I honestly think if you live in the proximity of Andy and you have the misfortune of having like any interaction with him, like whether you're a cop, a firefighter, a healthcare worker, a neighbor, a 911 operator, any of these like public servants that he constantly pulls into his orbit, even if your interaction with Andy is only, 5 minutes long, it was the worst part of your day. Like, that's the part of your day that when you sit down with your partner at dinner and they ask you how your day was, you just go, there's this Andy guy. Like, it's insane.
And that would also add to the bacteria count. So they had said that being a diabetic, my urine would actually be changed its chemistry to make it more harder on the skin. So they suggested not this brand, but they had another one that they had suggested that's similar to this that would help with bacteria growth and fungal and would help with the barrier cream. It was 3-in-1. When they talked about that, I looked at this one here that's also on their website, and I said, okay, I think I've seen this at Walmart. Let me go check it out at walmart.com. And that's where I got this. It's actually cheaper at Walmart. I think that's the cheapest I've actually seen this on the internet. So, I've used this for yesterday evening, and yesterday before going to bed, and today. I even used this after I took my shower to see if it works. Well, this actually stays on my skin for a while, and it feels very weird. It's not oily, it's not greasy. It's when I actually go doing a diaper change or taking a shower this morning, it felt like I was sliding around much easier with the wipe or with the sitting on the shower seat.
Remember when I told you guys not to eat while you watch this? He's literally giving us an ass update. Like, what the fuck?
It made it very slippery and greasy feeling. And I'm like, this doesn't say anything about barrier cream, but I think it may have a little bit of that. And this is also helping me, and this is supposed to help with the pH balance and also supposed to help with bacteria and fungal growth. The reason why I say that is because this seems to be something that's helpful. I may end up getting their barrier cream just because of that. This is one of the ones that I went to.
Bro, it's literally called butt paste. Why does the baby that's on the wrapper look like Andy? Oh my God.
Try, and this has made my rash issue worse, and I don't know why. This is helpful for my rash. The issue is
How many products do you have? I don't know anything about this area you're talking about, but one thing that I have been taught is that when you're doing skincare for your face, if you use like 20 different products at the same time, it's just going to mess you up. You have to stick to like one or two. How many like what cabinet of curiosities does he have that he's just pulling out like product after product? Like, he's got a whole pharmacy in there.
it gets so itchy, and I think it dries out my skin a little bit. So what I started doing was I started taking. Let me pause it again. So what I started doing was I added this, which is lavender and jasmine lotion. And I put that on with this here. And this actually fixed the itching. My mom actually thought it was a good idea to try this with the other cream. That was when she saw that my testicle issue was higher than what it should be. By the way, I found out.
By the way, everything that he says is worse than the last thing that he said. Oh my god. I don't some of this stuff is like I don't even have a commentary on it other than to just be like, "Oh my god," because how can you how can you react to this 38-year-old 300-pound bald baby telling you this shit about himself?
That is actually normal. However, my testicle issue that I was told by the urologist and my dad was told this, that it isn't at the ideal spot. There's a little bit of concern for that, but if I'm not sexually active or have a girlfriend or have a need at this point, it's not something that they're concerned about it.
Yeah, I would agree with them that that's not a high risk scenario for them to be worried about. I love that their official diagnosis was like this would be a problem if you were ever gonna get laid, but you're don't even worry about it. It's not.
Because if I'm not trying to have a kid, and it's not cancerous, it's nothing wrong with it right now, why do anything about it? Just because it's a little higher than it should be, it actually is something that they had said that should not be a concern unless it becomes cancerous at some point, which it could very well, and they have to be careful of it. So yes,
Look, he's already setting up the he's like lining up the dominoes for him to have a Boogie 2988 fake cancer arc somewhere down the line.
that's good news, because at this end of the day, I'm not interested in a girlfriend. I'm not interested in making a kid. I think I'm pretty old to do that to begin with, and I'm not even interested. So yes, I don't think that would be something I would be
It's subtle, but if you look closely, he's got boob sweat on his shirt.
wanting to get fixed. But yeah, I'm happy the way I am. So I just thought maybe I would throw this out to you guys to say, hey, this is something that I find very helpful. The other thing is powders. I asked for a powder because powder seemed like it was better for me for some of the powders that I was given. And they said that powders can sometimes be not as effective. And I'm like, okay. And they said not every cream is effective either. And they said sometimes some creams get baked on your skin in layers, and it's impossible to clean off pee and poop that it gets embedded in that. And that's why they recommended something like this that has both the barrier, well, actually both. The brand that they talked about was both a barrier cream and a cleansing cream. And I decided to get this one here because it was much cheaper, even on HDIS website, and I found it even cheaper at Walmart. And they also said that some creams and cleansers don't cut down on the bacteria and fungal growth. And being diabetic, that is just going to make that problem much more worse. So yeah, I am glad I talked about that, because I'm even though I've been in diapers all my life, my mom usually would just add something like this to it, right?
I'm not glad you talked about that. None of us are glad that you talked about that. Why would you feel the need to share that? Why would you want to draw attention to any of that? These are things that, like, usually if you were picking up prescriptions for these issues at the pharmacy, you'd walk up and you'd very quietly, like, give them your name and your birthday and try to take it and hope that they're not like, hey, are you the guy picking up the rash cream? Like, he is instead announcing it full volume in detail to the internet with like detailed price reviews. This is wild.
But she always uses Dustin for me. Dustin is something that has been helpful for me. However, it's extremely expensive, and even the Walmart brand right here, I think this was the Dustin version. Yeah, so yeah, this is the Dustin version of great value. It's expensive, and I wanted something that I could use that would help me with this issue. Plus, this tends to break down the diaper, okay? Not only break down the diaper, but it rips it apart. And the way I have to do it, I found out a hack, because the glues that they use for the diapers, these will rip the glue. Okay? I've never had an issue with that with this one here at all yet. So what I do is I use a wet wipe to wipe this after putting on my body. So I'll put this on with my hand, which I don't like doing. I rather use a wet wipe, which is what I do, because that way it doesn't get on my hand. So I use a wet wipe to get it on, dab it in there, and then I go putting it on. But then after I get it all on, I then go with a second wet wipe to take it off the parts that would make it, where it's, I don't know, but basically that gives me enough coating. And
I gotta stop him right there because I just realized something. Like, as he's going into the details, he's describing step by step exactly what he does for this process, which in retrospect is kind of funny when you think about it, because only 2 years later, not 10 years later, not after some horrible accident that made things so much worse for him, but 2 years down the line, with him being in relatively the same health that he was when this video was taken, he's saying that he can't do any of these things and that he needs caretakers to check on him every single hour to do this stuff for him, like by hand. But not that long ago, he's describing in detail how he does all of it himself, and how he's even like experimenting with other products to make the process easier for himself. So that I'm only realizing this like as he's saying it, but I'm like, wait a minute, what do you mean you're doing it all yourself? Like, it's crazy how he'll just admit that he can do things, and then not long afterwards he'll just completely disregard all of it and pretend he never said it in the first place.
it allows me to be able to prevent the diaper from ripping, and also it basically allows the diaper to perform better than using the barrier creams. A lot of the powders stop that issue, causes issues with the absorbency as well. I noticed this cream here, it does not cause that issue. It does not have that problem, I noticed. So I think I'm going with this to help me with my skin issue. And also, this has a nice smell to it. I used to be a really big fan of Aloe Vista. Okay? The foam stuff used to be given at all the hospitals in Buffalo for cleansing, for both the showerless, waterless baths, but also the cotton issue, right? They've stopped that. They've gone with another brand that burns the skin for cotton issues, and they basically stopped using that. And I'm like, why? It's because it's expensive. That's what I've been told. It's too expensive for them. And the hospitals are cheap. So I'm like, whoa. They are expensive. They also work good. But my mom found, when I accidentally bought the spray kind, actually like the Aloe Vista spray better for cleaning up when I'm outside and I need help, when there's no shower. She still helped me with that, right? So did my dad, even though dad doesn't really like it. But the spray makes it much easier to clean up after a poop issue.
Every time that he mentions his mom in the context of something like this, I just think to myself, like, R.I.P. Janet Ditch, she deserves to be in Valhalla with, like, the Viking warriors for the battle that was every day of her life living with Andy. I mean, I truly, like, all the props in the world to Janet for this.
But the problem is that's extremely expensive, and I don't have all kinds of money. So anyways, have a great day, guys. I hope this is something that you could probably find useful if you are incontinent. And truly incontinent, not just somebody who wants to use diapers. I will get it. I actually feel I actually feel this way about that. If you're in diapers and you need diapers, you should be able to have them. But if you want to use diapers just because you want,
This is the Andy Ditch equivalent of when O.J. Simpson wrote a book and called the book If I Did It. It's one of those things where it's like, why would you even say that if you knew that people were accusing you of that? You know what I mean? Like, if you're Andy, you probably want to stay as far away from even mentioning the idea that this could be fake as possible, but instead you're like trying to call out other fakers as if that's not what you do. It's such a what an incredible strategy.
want to wear them, or like want them from comfort, or want to role play. Okay, role playing of being a sick person or baby, that is very disturbing to me. I feel that is a sexual issue and something very disgusting. Okay? Wanting to wear a diaper just because of its comfort and not having somebody change you and not using your diaper, that is, I don't see as a big problem, like wanting somebody to actually change you. Needing a diaper and actually needing somebody to change you, like what I have the need for, is not fun. And because some people think that I use a diaper to get and soil myself on purpose and purposely not take care of myself or managing it on my own, they think it's done by choice to get people to take care of me, and that is not what I have ever wanted or what I have issues with.
The level of projection that he is displaying right now is unimaginable to me. Like it's incredible that he feels the need to even address this and that he does it in this way.
And I just want to make sure you guys know that really upsets me when I saw a video earlier today on this person who claims to be autistic or could be autistic or likely has autism and wants to wake up in a soiled diaper and wants to be a baby. That is extremely disturbing to me because
The call is coming from inside the house. Like, I'm sure there is one, but I've never heard of anybody else on YouTube who has all of those specific problems that you just listed.
how people think of me. And I'm going to say this. There are people like that. And it doesn't mean you have autism or have autism or don't have autism. It just, there are people like that. And I find that very disgusting because yes, I need help with this, changing diapers. Yes, people think of it in a very negative way when I really need that help. But that's not why I'm saying that for. The reason why I say it's sick for is because get a girlfriend, get a boyfriend. If they want to change you for sexual reasons, let them do it. Don't go soiling yourself just to have a nurse or somebody change you because you enjoy it. That is
There's a skit on Tim Robinson's Netflix show, I Think You Should Leave, where a hot dog shaped car crashes into a store and all the people in the store are trying to figure out who was driving the car, and Tim Robinson is all of a sudden standing there and he's in a hot dog costume, and he just starts looking around and going, the crazy thing is it could have been any one of us driving that car. I'm sure you guys know what I'm getting at here.
disgusting. And I'm not even going to. I'm actually thinking the way I'm thinking the way nurses and people probably feel when they change somebody like that and how they feel uncomfortable. And I feel bad I have poop and pee issues and need somebody to change me, okay? And I don't like being in diapers. I don't like the smell of pee or poop. And I know people, nurses and mothers and fathers and caregivers don't like that either. And that is why I feel bad about needing a diaper and needing somebody to help manage it. I feel bad for the person because if I can't tolerate my own poop or pee, how can a nurse tolerate it? How can a nurse be a nurse or a nurse aide be a nurse aide? Let me just say this. I know I would never be able to be a nurse. You deal with blood, puke, pee, and poop, and all kinds of stuff.
It's insane that he admits that he could never do this job because of X problems, and then he proceeds to list all of the problems that he causes for these people every day. Like the lack of, I guess it's like he has the self awareness to say that he couldn't do it, but he lacks in any way the empathy to not make other people have to deal with it unnecessarily.
I never would be able to tolerate it with my sensory issue without being grossed out or sick. And that is my thing that I'm going to say, how the hell could my mom be a nurse and want to be a nurse because of this? Do you realize one of the things that my mom had said, she had older people who would spit in their hand and wash their hand and spit and then go shaking the nurse's hand. That was very disgusting, Mom said. Mom also said that there was this person who did a vacuum cleaning demonstration who was named the Hoover Man because that's a vacuum cleaner that actually ripped off his dick because he wanted to show how it sucks dirt up.
What is he even talking about right now?
I wanted to demonstrate with a lady to hopefully buy a Hoover. So he takes a hose and puts it up in his area, and it gets stuck and rips it off. And Mom said that's the worst thing ever. Mom also talked about some person who sticks a big pen in that area. And Mom said that person needed surgery and was screwed up mentally very bad. Very sick man. And he thought he could get it stuck in his dick because he thought it would feel good. That is disgusting. And my mom said something. She called that person Flick My Bick. Flick My Bick is what that patient was called. I'm sure there are many names that nurses call me behind my back because they don't like me and I have issues with things. But I'm going to say that, Mom, I don't know how you could be a nurse and deal with stuff like that.
It's an interesting little strategy that he does here towards the end of the video, too, where he tries to get himself off the hook by coming up with all of these other alternative disgusting examples that he perceives to be, and maybe they are worse than the things that he does, almost to say like, hey, all these nurses who don't like me because they have to deal with probably, like I said earlier, the absolute worst part of their day every time that they see me, it actually could be way worse because here's these crazy anecdotes that my mom has from when she was a nurse. Like, what a wild justification to have for why you can do your weird kink in hospitals and medical environments. But that's all the Andy that we've got for today. It's honestly, to this day, he's got a lot of wild monologues, and a lot of times like the funny Andy clips are actually taken by other people, like they're taken by his dad or they're taken by his brother, and you can see him like crashing out, laying in the snow, screaming about a trumpet being played. But this one specifically, a lot of times his like live streams or his videos of himself were kind of boring, but this one really just struck me as being particularly crazy because he goes into such detail on like all the gross stuff that people dislike about him the absolute most. But that is going to be the Lolcow Rewind for today. If you guys like the content, please like and subscribe to the channel. And there should be a new Cyrax video coming out tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. But until then, you guys have a good one.